All right. I think we're live. Apologies for I'm trying some new things, trying to do the scheduling, so hopefully this works. All right. Well, thanks for coming to another chat, another campfire chat. If you're new to this format, so am I, don't worry. But the point is that we kind of get a little personal, maybe talk about some harder stuff like health concerns, or in this case we're talking about Pride Month, and the queer perspective of an LDS person. This is kind of like an ask me anything. Feel free to throw in a chat if you have a question. I'll try to keep up on those. It's hard for me to multitask, but I will do my best to try and keep up on this, so that the goal here is to make this as helpful for you as possible, and to kind of connect together, because I feel like you can do that pretty easy around the fire. So that's kind of the whole point of this. So today it's June at the time of this recording, so it's Pride Month. And I am a member of the queer community. I'm also LDS. I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. However, nothing I say is representative of the church organization. I'm not speaking for the church, for other groups of people. This is all going to be my experience, and then a couple of perspectives that I've been collecting as I've been kind of researching and reading some other things as well. So I'm trying to bring in some perspectives. I don't have a ton of diverse voices to pull from, so I would encourage you to continue to find other people that can talk about these kinds of things, so that you can get a more well-rounded grasp of what this means for people's lives. I'm obviously a white person, so you need to be able to find all of those perspectives. And hey, thanks. Somebody's sending the love. I appreciate it. And yeah, so again, I just encourage you to find more stories, find people that can talk about these kinds of things. So let's get into it. What is Pride Month? What is Pride in general? Because you've probably heard of Pride Month, probably why you're here. But Pride is kind of a touchy subject for Christians, at least it seemed like for me. Especially because I had, at least in the LDS culture, we have this kind of scary word called pride. We don't want this. Pride is a way to, in Christian terms, to set yourself above somebody else, make yourself better, or put somebody down. Usually it manifests in that like hubris kind of pride, where you're like, I got it. Like, you don't, I got it. I'm good. That's not what LGBTQ pride is. And it took me a long time to figure that out, because it's like, I don't know, when I was in the closet, it was just so scary and so tough that it was really hard to extricate myself from the messages that I was getting. And it's really easy for people to make the connection of like, oh, it's the bad pride and it's the bad people. Bad, that's just kind of the messaging that I got at the time. And so it's like, obviously LGBTQ people are bad because they like pride, which is also bad. It's like obviously bad. So that was kind of the thing that got me really nervous about pride, and nervous about coming out, nervous about who I was. Did I have a place in just society? Did I have any worth? I don't know. It took me 30 years to get to any kind of space where I could feel like I can stake out that claim, that I didn't need somebody else to tell me that I was valuable, that I was worth being here, like alive. So I guess trigger warning. I may touch on some topics that may be hard. So please take care of yourself. However, you may need to do that. But yeah, suicide is definitely a part of my story. At least ideation, thinking about it all the time. I know that's an unfortunate common experience that the vast majority of LGBTQ people experience. At least as far as I know, I've never met another LGBTQ person who has not considered suicide at some point. And it's a social thing. It's because of the messages that we get. And so that's also part of why I want to speak about these kinds of things, because I don't think that's an acceptable that's not an acceptable way to be treating people, is to continue to perpetuate these things that lead people to think that it's better to just call it quits on Earth, you know. That's not right. and it's hard for me to say that because I still have some of that weight on me, but I really want that to end. that messaging. We need everybody here. We need people to be safe. It reminds me of this quote. I actually just saw. So one of the books that I've been reading is called Queer Virtue. You're not going to be able to see this super well, but it's a really great book written by Reverend Elizabeth M. Edman. Highly recommend it. It's from I believe she's Episcopalian. It's been a second since I read this, so I apologize if I made her misattributed her to that religion or that sect. But she noted in her book that the feeling of safety as being normal, that idea anyway, is indicative of privilege. So safety does not come by default to anybody except for those who are privileged. Maybe that's because you're white, maybe that's because you're straight, maybe that's because you have money, maybe that's because of where you live. There's a lot of impacting factors, but safety is actually not default, and so again, that's another one of my motivations, is to try and increase the safety for more people. Let's spread out that privilege so that it's not just privileged few, it's privileged as the default. You know, let's make that a reality. So anyway, going back to Pride, I wanted to tell you about my first experience with Pride, because I actually have only been to one Pride event. It was in Utah. I was absolutely terrified. I had just come out on Facebook, and so I was trying to meet more people. I had been going to a support group for students. I wasn't a student at the time. I had long since graduated, but I was looking for people to support me and to help maybe support them. I didn't really contribute much, but that's what I'm doing here. So anyway, I was absolutely terrified. I ended up showing up 20 minutes early, so I didn't even really see anything because I got so nervous to go, and then I left before it really started. So I just was like, I'm just gonna sort of go and then leave because I'm an introvert. So really scary for me. It was a beautiful experience. I got to see a couple of people who had come to set up their booths on the side on these grounds. And there was a group there called the Mama Dragons, which is an LDS mostly group. I think they've expanded to just anybody. I think it started as an LDS focused group, but the Mama Dragons are mothers of queer children, and so they're fiercely spreading the love for their children to others. And sorry, this is gonna be kind of hard, but there's this lady there. I'd never seen her before, ever since, and the whole point of that booth was to give mom hugs to kids, to queer kids and queer people. And she said, "Do you want a mama dragon hug?" A mom hug, and I did, and it was powerful because it was really sweet, it's just really, really sweet that somebody would be there to just show love to people that don't get a ton of that. And and it was also extremely painful because I could feel the weight of so many people that I have come to know, in somewhat, like acquaintances, some friends, and plenty of stories of queer people who have to come out, and they lose their families in the process. And it's not because the queer person did anything wrong. It's because the systems in play are telling us that they don't belong in the family, that, you know, so the family, in order to perhaps feel like they can still belong to their community's beliefs, or maybe to show in some way they're trying to show that they still are loyal to a concept or a faith or a tradition or whatever it may be. They choose that organization, that belief, whatever it is, over their own children. And homelessness is a huge problem with LGBTQ youth. It becomes very dangerous. It comes with all kinds of difficult, things, and it's just that hug brought all of that kind of to the forefront, because I know these people. And so that was powerful for me. And so when I think of Pride, that's what I think of, is that hug of, somebody else who is not related to me, does not know me, but she wanted to give me that mom hug to say, we still love you and we accept you. That's powerful. And I think that's the best way to conceptualize Pride, is that it's not about putting people above or below you or anybody else. It has nothing to do with hierarchies and anything like that. It's nothing to do with hubris. It's all about saying, you know what, I'm happy to be me. I'm happy that I can give something. I can be a contributor to the community. I deserve to live. I deserve to be here. That's powerful. That's a powerful concept for people who don't see that in their own lives from like external sources. And so it's a way to stake your claim, because nobody else is going to give it to you. At least that's been my experience so far, is very few people will give you that validation, give you that space. And so you have to just take it. And that's very difficult. It's very scary. It's tough. So anyway, that's kind of that's my first experience with Pride. Obviously, it's very, and then COVID happened, so that's why I haven't really had too many experiences with Pride events, unfortunately. So especially since I have MS, so I gotta be careful with crowds and things like that. So hopefully I'll be able to make it to maybe another Pride event, maybe soon, hopefully. But I would encourage you to find ways to either participate in Pride or maybe even just like come into this fireside or this fire chat is a great way to start, especially since you can view it anonymously. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to see yourself there if it's scary, because it can be scary even if you're just an ally, especially if you're closeted. I feel like that maybe increases the fear. So yeah, anyway, I definitely recommend it, but be safe and make your own decisions and according to what you need. So another place where I found really great community was the Gather conference last year. That was put on by Ben Shalati and Charlie Bird. They're both very famous in the LDS queer space. And as well as, I believe it was Lift and Love, the nonprofit organization that kind of put that conference on, and it was absolutely spectacular. It was so powerful. It's absolutely beautiful when people come together for something, and especially when it's people who have usually felt threatened to be anywhere. so it was really something special to be able to gather with peers, with fellow LGBTQ people, allies, and just an absolutely beautiful program. So many great speakers. Even Darius Gray was there. It was so special. And so if you happen to be in kind of the Western United States and maybe have the means to go, I would recommend that one as well. Even as an ally, I think it was just a great experience, and I'm excited to see, hopefully be able to go there again this year. So those are some maybe resources is to look at. The Gather Conference, and their social accounts. Ben Shalati and Charlie Bird also have a fantastic podcast called Questions from the Closet. That used to be basically my church experience. So let me back up. Prior to coming out, I was very, very involved with my church. And it's always been an important part of my life, and spirituality and faith, that's just part of me. And so it was very difficult when I got married, to suddenly have everything taken away from me. Very harsh restrictions. We were told we were lucky that they didn't just excommunicate us. So that's kind of where we're at. We didn't quite get some of the privilege that some others have received, and that's okay. Like there is no privilege, really. It's all just kind of a tense, difficult space to want to be active at church, and also to be who you are as a queer person. And so that's been a point of a lot of tension and difficulty, and even spiritual violence in a lot of ways. And so the podcast was a great way for me to kind of supplement what I was not getting at church, with some really great discussions, really great perspectives from more diverse people, people from all over. They really do a great job of trying to get more voices. And so I would also highly recommend checking that out if you like the LDS flavor of Christianity. I feel like it would still be a good a great podcast to listen to, because I feel like I think it overlaps with general Christianity, but there's definitely some LDS flair with that. So check that out. But also I wanted to show a couple of, let me get this set up here. I had some quotes that I wanted to show that I feel like were really good for me. Let's see. All right, there we go. So I know this one's in my handwriting, so I apologize. I'm going to read it to you, but this is again from Queer Virtue, that book I was telling you earlier. Kind of looks like this. Talking about, let's see. Yeah, I just really appreciated how she wrote this, that it's how any marginalized, abused community or individual throws off oppression by declaring, the scandal is not what you say it is. Yes, I was crucified. Yes, I am queer. Those things do not make me bereft of value as you say I am. And so I really appreciate that in the context of Pride Month. Some of these other resources is to say, you know what, we're staking our claim that we define our value. We define that we're worthy of being here, like alive and safe, and that is ultimately what I think Pride is about. Is staking that claim, and same with all of these other gathering communities, whenever we're coming together, it's to be able to say, you know what, we have value and we deserve to be here. And so I really appreciated that one. Let me just double check. I think I had one more. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this one is good. Let's see. Cultivating pride. Yes. Cultivating pride is tricky for Christians because we must embrace our value as children of God while simultaneously rejecting all of the triumphalist, militaristic, hubristic crap that still pervades our tradition. So it is tricky because I love my church. I love the Christian tradition. I think at its roots is a very valuable framework of belief and faith. But there's some problems, and that's kind of where pride becomes something that we need. It's about, saying, hey, we're going to claim our value. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself. We're going to claim our value. We're going to claim that we can do this. We can be both. We can be in both spaces, as valid, churchgoers, as valid members of society, as valid people, and that's a hard line to it's a hard line to walk because there is so much pressure from polarization over this topic of, what do we do with the LGBTQ people, right? And it was I wanted to share, let's see. I wanted to share one more thing that I noticed. I actually shared this recently on social media, but I wanted to read this because this is so important. My whole life, my queerness was defined by excruciating pain, suffering at the hands of unknowns, internalized homophobia, and the systemic messages that I was fundamentally flawed. I thought that was queerness. So recently, someone remarked that they didn't have answers for the LGBTQ issue, as far as like a spiritual context, like what happens after this life, why does this happen to so many good people, things like that. This shocked me because it has nothing to do with the fact that those questions are kind of invalidating and they imply that something is wrong or needs to be fixed. But I was shocked because I no longer need those answers. I spent 30 years in that frame, questioning why I was so weird, why am I so different from my friends, why do I feel threatened in certain public situations, and especially why would God put such a harsh burden on me? Whatever did I do to deserve it? And what sacrificial act could I possibly do to invoke the grace of God? But here I am now, hearing somebody else that is straight, but expressing these questions on my behalf. Pause. Like, I'm not trying to deride this person. They're in their own journey, and I do want to make that clear. But they were expressing these questions on my behalf, with fervor, with true conviction, and it sounds like a dream. It's familiar yet unfamiliar to me, because I finally know that these are not the right questions. This is my life, and this is me, who I am, and I deserve to exist as I am. So happy Pride Month. Pride means I can smile at myself for the first time in years, technically ever. Pride means I can celebrate my humanity, and as well as the humanity of others. Pride means that I'm working on me, and no one else gets to define my worth. And I know that I'm on a good path because I'm choosing life over death. I'm choosing self-love over self-hatred more often. That's the key word there. But that's the whole point for me, is to celebrate humanity, and maybe these questions don't have to haunt us very much longer. So that's kind of my My message today is that yes, there are always going to be hard questions. Yes, there are going to be very difficult situations. Safety is not a default for us. Safety, there's just problems. There's all kinds of ways that we can experience violence. Physical violence is absolutely part of the story. But there's all kinds of there's social, emotional, and spiritual violence that can affect us, and it does. It creates the depression. It creates the suicide ideation. It creates these environments where we're not healthy. And my hope is that we can all come together in pride to remember that we all have humanity, and that that's okay, and that we can come together and really bring that community to other people, because for so long community has been denied to so many people. That's queer, that's based on race, that's based on gender, all of it. There's so many ways that we've been violent to each other, and it's time to stop, if I can be so bold. So anyway, if I can do anything, it would be to help contribute to a safer world, a more inclusive world, and it's okay. It's okay to welcome diversity and difference of opinions, and just, if we just remember the humanity in all of us, I think that'll go a long way. So before I go, I wanted to share with you a couple of books that I've got that I really feel like would be great resources for you to take a look at if you're interested in learning more. Some of these are Christian, some of these are my last book is actually about Islam, and I would highly recommend, if you want to have any kind of exploration into the queer community with faith. And then I also have a bonus book, but I'll show you this one first. Obviously, I've been talking about this one a lot. Queer Virtue by Reverend Elizabeth M. Edman. The subtitle to that is What LGBTQ People Know About Life and Love and How It Can Revitalize Christianity. Super good book. I really appreciated it. Another book, this is probably my favorite that I've read, is called Transforming by Austen Hartke. The Bible and the Lives of Transgender Christians. This is a super accessible book. I just absolutely love this. It's a great way to help get familiar with the trans experience as well. So I feel like that's there's a lot with maybe lesbian, gay, bisexual, maybe not bisexual. I haven't seen a ton of books about that, but transgender experience is definitely not quite there as far as resources that I've found. I would love to know if you have any others down below. Feel free to comment. But yeah, again, Transforming, absolutely fantastic book. Great from the Christian perspective, very accessible. I would say it's one of those very safe books where, like, if you're worried about your faith being challenged, honestly, I don't think you have to worry about that with that book. So I know that's a concern for people who want to become allies, but it's scary, just because of concerns about your faith, and so I wanted to reassure you with that. The last book that I would recommend for this intersection of faith and queerness would be Hijab, Butch Blues. I actually listened to this one on audiobook. It was absolutely fantastic. It's from the perspective of an Islamic queer person. It was so good. Highly recommend it. I believe it's by Lamya H. I hope I got that the letter right, because I can't remember now. But Lamya was the author there. It's absolutely just a wonderful book, wonderful memoir, with some beautiful rhetoric and like exegesis and that kind of a thing. It was beautiful. And the last thing that I would recommend is actually not overtly about LGBTQ issues, but American Idolatry This is a phenomenal book. It's by Andrew L. Whitehead, and I'll read you the subtitle: How Christian Nationalism Betrays the Gospel and Threatens the Church. And I think this is a great one because I think there's a tension between maybe the Christian tradition in America and some of these marginalized groups, and his thesis is just absolutely right on as far as like how it's gone off track, if I can be that bold. The Christianity, like as far as the Christian nationalism side of things, has really gone off base from what Christianity really is. And so this is a wonderful book discussing some of the problems that have come and how that's actually super dangerous to people, to democracy, and that kind of a thing. So I would highly recommend checking that book out as well. But I just, again, wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today with Pride. I will throw out one more little... what's it called, like a little plug, I guess, for I have some t-shirts I've been designing. You can't really see it super well, but I've been doing some cool dinosaur t-shirts, and one of them is with the trans flag. So if you want to help support and just represent, you can check that out at freakyfossils.com. I'll put a link in the description. But I'm hoping to add some more like pride flags on those designs as well. So I'll do that for you, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so